Hello guys, and welcome back to Joe's Ventures. And today we're going to be doing part 15 of our Planet Zoo mod spotlights, where we go through a bunch of mods and add a bunch of new animals and all that. I'm really excited to go through this one, and I'm going to be changing a little bit. Some people have been asking me, especially some of the modders, have been asking me to make sure. This is something I hasn't been too worried about, but this is something I'm going to be focusing on from now on. Trying to make sure that everyone who made these mods, and obviously the ones that make these videos possible, make sure they get their name credits. So I just didn't do it before just because I usually just put the links in the description. But a lot of people have been saying, we want to hear our names in the videos, and I'm happy to oblige that. I just want to make sure everyone's happy and healthy and make these videos better for everyone to enjoy. So we're going to be starting off with Leaf's mod. We've got Leaf. If you guys don't know Leaf, he's a very prolific modder, and he has his own channel. He's called Leaf Productions, I believe. Very nice channel, and he does a lot of mods as well. And we've got his zebra Duiker, so we will unpause and let them sleep. Look at that. Look at these cuties. So the zebra Duiker is a very small antelope found primarily in Liberia, the Ivory Coast and Sierra Leone, and occasionally Guinea. So that's found on like that western part of Africa. They also sometimes referred to as the banded or the stripe-backed duiker, and is believed to be one of the earliest duiker species. So that's pretty cool. Very basal species. So as you look at these guys, they get their name. You can hear the zebra duiker because they have these banded stripes on there that kind of makes them look like a zebra or a tiger. There's about 16 of them going down the back. And there's dark markings on their legs as well, and their russet faces, which I think look very pretty and look at them cute when they sleep. So one cool thing about the newborns is that they appear darker because they are born with the stripes close together. So as they grow, the stripes will become more obvious. And an adult zebra duiker can grow to about 90 centimeters in length, 45 centimeters in height, and about 20 kilos in weight. And as you can see here, they have really good sleep. So the horns are short and round with sharp pointed tips, and they are about 4.5 to 5 centimeters long in the males, and half that for females. And female body size is larger than males, probably due to the longer gestation periods. So in some species, the females will be larger, not just the males. It's sexual dimorphism. So these guys live in primarily like lowland rainforests, particularly those around forest margins and clearings, and they are mostly common within the forested areas of the midwestern parts of Africa, and can be less commonly found in these hills and low mountain forests. They are ruminants, which means they digest by they have like a hind stomach, but they allows them to digest plants and things like that. We'll have a look at this one walking about. They are cutie. So they typically feed on fruits, foliage, and seeds, and though rare, they have been evidence that they may eat rodents on occasion. So that's a thing that's very common in herbivores. They will eat like bones and small animals, even chicks and things like that on occasion if it does, because it provides nutrients that's very hard to get from plants. And their reinforced nasal bones enable them to crack open the harder fruits, which is pretty cool. I think these guys are wonderful. Look at that cutie. So they have a gestation period from anywhere from 221 to 229 days, and the female is receptive to mating about 10 days after nutrition, and the mother will only give birth to one calf at a time. This newborn can weigh between 1,270 to 1,550 grams at birth, and during the first days during birth, they tend to grow at a rate of about 94 grams a day, which is pretty big. After this, growth rate decreases considerably, and females reach sexual maturity about 9 to 12 months, and males 12 to 18. And these guys display diurnal behavior, so they're often seen in the middle of the day in captive situations, but in the wild they tend to be nocturnal. That might just be because they're used to humans. They're solitary animals that form pair bonds for breeding purposes. Both the male and female participate in defending their young and home range. Their actions include stripes and thicker nasal or frontal bones. These stripes may reduce injuries to more vulnerable areas, abdominal areas, And these stripes also make it more difficult for some predators to break the outline. So if you guys know like camouflage, it just breaks the outline of the animal that makes it harder to spot. And their nasal bones are built to protect against blunt force trauma. These guys are considered vulnerable under the IUCN because of deforestation, the loss of habitat, and overhunting within its range. And these guys are often naturally preyed upon by leopards, African gold cats, rock pythons, and the crowned eagle. And the wild population is estimated to be about 28,000 individuals, and it is believed to be high and continuing to decline. And there are protected areas where they live, but they are at risk because of these factors, especially like hunting and loss of habitat, which is kind of goes hand in hand with deforestation. I think that's cool. They look wonderful, don't they? Look at these babies. Adult. Juvie. Cuties. Pretty cool. So now we've got our next animal. We've got a Urial. It's a type of goat by Frazzle64, if hopefully I pronounced your name right. So these guys are pretty cool. So they're a type of sheep, also called the Chamois sheep, and they're a wild sheep native to Central and Southeast, not Southeast, just South Asia. And they're considered vulnerable. So these males have these quite large horns, as you can see here. They curve outward from the top of the head and turning into the end behind the head. Females of these have these shorter horns, and they can get to about 100 centimeters long in males, and their shoulder height is about 80 to 90 centimeters. So these guys are found in mountain areas in the Pamor Mountains, and then the Himalayas and Hindu Kush mountains, at an elevation of about 4,500 meters or 14,000 feet. They are distributed from northwestern Iran, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and southwestern Kazakhstan to northern Pakistan and Ladakh to northwestern India. Well, that was a lot of covering, lots of stans. It prefers grasslands, open woodland, and gentle slopes, but also inhabits cold, arid zones with little vegetation. And these guys, their mating season breeds, they begin about September, and rams will select 4 or 5 ewes, which give birth to a lamb after a gestation of 5 months. And yeah, these guys are just really cool. Like other goats, they'll just eat what they can. Mainly, since they live so high, it'll be mainly on the grasses and the lichens and stuff that they can find on the ground. And I think they're just wonderful looking animals. He's a bit banged up, but a very cool animal. I like him very much. He did a good job. I think it's cool to give like highlights to people. I think these guys did a good job. Let's have a look at the female. You can see they got the smaller horns there. And you can see this cute baby. Look at that. Aren't you a cutie? Great animals. Love them. So we got the next animal here. This one was done by Phonetic. I'm pretty sure that's the correct name. We have got the Sitatunga, or the marsh buck. So this guy is very similar looking to the Nyala, but is related to bongos. They are a swamp-dwelling antelope from Central Africa. They're mainly found in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Republic of the Congo, Cameroon, parts of southern Sudan, Equatorial Guinea, Budari, Ghana, Botswana, Rwanda, Zambia, Gabon, the Central African Republic, Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. That's quite a big range, lots of countries. These guys live in these mainly marshy habitats or swampy habitats with tall and dense vegetation, as well as seasonal swamps, marsh clearings, riparian and thicket and marsh swamps. So these guys are about a medium-sized antelope that are sexually dimorphic, with the males being generally quite a bit larger than the females. The head to body length is typically about 136 to 177 centimeters in males and 104 to 146 in females. Males reach approximately 81 to 116 centimeters at the shoulder, with females reaching 72 to 90 at the shoulders. Males typically weigh between 76 and 119 kilos, while females weigh between 24 and 57 kilos. So these colors, the color varies a lot. You can see this is a male here. They've got this dark greyish, and then the females have a much lighter pattern. Quite clear dimorphism there. Let's have a look at the male again. Oh, where are you? Yeah. So these guys generally have like a rufous color as juveniles, as you can see there, and then here's the male, which is like a darker grey, and the females are a lighter color. So these guys' bodies and legs are specially adapted for these swampy habitats. They have very large hooves that are elongated and widely splayed to be able to help them walk through the ground, because obviously if you have something, it reduces your chances of getting stuck and spreads your weight out easier. And they have this rubbery, shaggy coat that is water repellent, that allows, obviously repels water so they don't get constantly wet, and can allow, and it's not very affected by the slimy and muddy vegetation. So they're also pretty flexible in that. They pointed toes allow them to walk slowly and almost quietly through the water, so that doesn't allow, so they don't get detected, which I think is pretty cool. And these guys are active mainly during the early hours after dawn or the last 2 hours before dusk. That makes them crepuscular and spend a large time of that feeding. Basically sedentary, they rest in flat areas and reed beds, especially during the hotter parts of the day. They seldom leave their swamp habitat during the daytime, though Sitatungas are commonly found in pairs or remain solitary. Larger groups have also been observed. A study in Kenya recorded a herd as many as 9 individuals, so that's quite big. Loose groups are formed, but interaction among individuals is very low, and they generally associate with their own sex. So they're not territorial, and males can engage by locking horns with other males and attacking vegetation using their horns. And these guys can feed and rest close to leech-ray herds and do not interact with them, though. They often attract yellow-billed oxpeckers, African jasitas, or how you pronounce that, and great egrets. And they're considered kind of like aquatic antelopes, like the waterbuck, which I think is pretty cool. I like these guys. And they often dry themselves with the sun, and they are preyed upon by lions, wild dogs, crocodiles, and leopards. These guys are also mixed feeders. They kind of eat whatever they can. They'll eat aquatic plants, sedges. They'll also eat foliage, all sorts of foliage, fresh grasses, sedges, and browse. And they become sexually mature at about a year old, and males take about 1.5 years before to mature. And breeding occurs throughout the year. When females gather, the males come around them and fight for the right to mate. And similar to like other ungulates, they'll rut. And gestation for these guys lasts about nearly 8 months, and there's generally a single calf is born. So it occurs throughout the year, but the peak may occur in the dry season. And the calf follows its mother after even she's given birth to another calf, and they'll suckle for about 6 months. And the calves take time to master the specialized gait that they use, and often lose their balance in the water. So they have to learn kind of how to move around in the water, which is pretty cool. Males and even sometimes females have been taught to leave their herds even before reaching sexual maturity, mainly due to intersexual competition. So if there's too many males or females, they'll leave. And the lifespans in captivity have been recorded to 22 to 23 years. Pretty cool animals, wonderful. Let's have a look at a female. Cool animal. So as I mentioned, they live in like amphibious antelope, though I mean they can live in both land and water, and are confined to these swampy and marshy habitats. They can be found in like clearings and forests, mangrove swamps, all these kind of reef beds, riverine forests. All these kind of habitats is where they very much enjoy it to be. And these guys, since they have such a specialized habitat, that opens a lot to habitat destruction. Wetlands around the world have declined by 90%, so only 10% of the woodlands around the world is still unaffected by people. So that's a big thing for them. Other issues can be, since they're considered vulnerable, I think they're considered least concern actually, but they could be at risk, especially from the declining wetlands and other things like bush beats and other things. But they are now considered least concern with a global population of about 170,000, which is believed to be an overestimate, but they seem to be doing stable everywhere. So pretty cool animal. I really like these guys. Let's have a look at the baby. Where's the baby? Look at this cutie. Oh, I like this. Look how cute he is. I like him. He's so cute. That was a her. That's alright. So now we've got to move on to the next animal. Don't want to give spoilers. So now we've got a cool animal. This is by Narwhal. We've got a pretty cool boy. This is the Pyrenean Chamois. This is what is a goat antelope that lives in the Pyrenees, Carpathian Mountains, and the Annamite Mountains. I believe that's how you pronounce them. They are one of the two species, the other being the Alpine Chamois. And these guys can get up to about 80 centimeters tall, with their summer coat being like a ruddy brown, and then white it's black and brown in winter, with darker patches around the eyes you can see here. It's pretty cool. They pretty much browse on grasses, lichens, and buds and whatever they can at the altitudes they live in, and are normally found in altitudes of about 3,000 meters plus. They also have, both of these males and females have these large horns, so they can get up to about 20 centimeters in length. So, to go with the other species of chamois, the Alpine chamois, these guys are been hunted almost to extinction, actually, especially during the 1940s for the production of chamois leather. And their population has since recovered, and the populations of the Pyrenean ibex are believed to be now about 25,000 individuals. So that means they're considered least concern. But I just love these animals. Chamois are just such a cool animal. You got the Alpine chamois introduced here in New Zealand for hunting, which they shouldn't be here, but I just think they're beautiful animals, especially this female here. Where's the cutie? Where's the cutie baby? Look at that. A really wonderful job on this animal. Now, Narwhal is probably one of my favourite modders. I think he's cool. Plus, I've known him for a while. Just a wonderful animal this guy is. So now we're going to move on to next animal. We have got the Grant's Gazelle. So look at this wonderful animal here. So the Grant's Gazelle is a species of gazelle from northern Tanzania to South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Kenya. So these guys are very similar to the Submarine's Gazelle and the Thompson's Gazelle, if you guys know those guys. They stand generally about 75 to 95 centimeters at the shoulder, and the females weigh about 35 to 50 kilos, and males weighing 50 to 80 kilos. Its coat is like this really cool beige orange, look very similar to the Thompson's Gazelle. And they have these very long horns that measure between 45 and 81 centimeters long. And these guys, I mentioned, they're found in East Africa in these large open plains and found in scrublands. And other parts of the habitat are also found in semi-arid habitats, and browse more, and they supplement these areas since they have less water. They'll often eat a lot more, take a lot more water from their food. And they're a migratory animal, but travel opposite directions to most other ungulates, such as the Thompson gazelles, zebras, and wildebeest, which are more water dependent. So these guys are able to compete because they are less dependent on the water. These guys are often preyed upon by animals like cheetahs and wild dogs. Humans also hunt these gazelles in the Serengeti. They prey out of cheetahs, and Thompson gazelle is preferred over these guys. And these guys are gregarious, territorial, and a migratory species. So the home ranges of does will overlap with those of the bucks, and the male gazelles will herd all females as they cross the territories. And when the female is in estrus, they are strongly guarded by a male, and then they will defend them from other animals. So these guys are mixed feeders. They'll both browse and graze. The average diet consists of about 65% browse and 34% graze, and rainfall in the habitat does seem to affect this, so they're pretty generalist. The Grant's gazelle's diet may also be responsible for the slow growth rates of its browse plots, and they get most of their moisture from the plants they eat, so they do not have to often drink water. Thus they can stay in the plains long until the rain ends. From July to September, gazelles move into the deep, dense bush and wait for the next rains. They eat red oats and small tough plants and avoided by other ungulates, and this allows the gazelle to survive the brush during the dry season. So these guys will get sexually mature at about 18 months old, with territory holding bucks mate more than the ones of bachelor groups. And then they will come, obviously when one's in estrus, they'll come and find them. Is that a male? That's a female. Let's have a look at the baby, look at the cutie. So the gestation for these gazelles lasts about 198 days, and births will be at mostly around January to February. The doe will leave her herd and find a well-hidden place to give birth, and afterwards she will eat the afterbirth and other fluids to keep the calf clean, or the fawn I mean. And these fawn are immobile for the first few days of their life, so the mother stays close. and when the fawn can walk, they will leave with its mother and find a herd. After this, fawns will associate with one another in pair groups, and they're weaned about 6 months, but continue to associate until adulthood. Until adolescence, I mean. So just a wonderful animal. Where's this guy? Is it the male? Where's the male? It's probably this one. Nope. There's the male. Look at this wonderful male. It's got nice big horns. So the grunt gazelle is still a pretty common species, also it's been eradicated in some areas. Major threats to these guys is, of course, habitat destruction and poaching. And they're considered unthreatened despite the protection and dependent on the protection of national parks and reserves where they live. So that's also with a lot of species. That includes places like the Serengeti National Park and the Ngorongoro Conservation Area in Tanzania and Lake Turkana National Parks in Kenya. So the estimates of their populations range from 140,000 to 350,000, and while certain areas have stable populations, others have climbed downwards. That's not good. So they're doing okay generally, but they still need to be monitored and have areas protected for them. Oh yeah! Pretty cool animals. So now we're moving on to another cool one. That one was done by Phonetic as well. So Phonetic did both the Sitatunga and the Grunt Gazelle. Now we're moving on to the blue wildebeest over here. Wonderful boy. Such a cool animal. Who doesn't love blue wildebeest? So this one was done by Bubbly One, which is a creative name, and I like that a lot. So these guys, the blue wildebeest, also known as the common wildebeest or the gnu, are closely related to obviously the black wildebeest, which is already in the game. And they have these really broad shouldered face and this really distinctive muzzle. And they get this adult coloration when they're about 2 months old. So, the blue wildebeest is a herbivore that feeds primarily on short grasses and forms herd with loose aggregations, the animals being fast runners and extremely wary. So, the mating season begins at the end of the raining season, and a single calf is usually born about 8.5 months old. The calf remains with its mother for about 8 months, after which will join a juvenile herd. Blue wildebeest are found in the short grass plains bordering bush-covered Acacia savannas, and southern and eastern Africa, thriving in areas that are not too wet nor too arid. 3 African populations of blue wildebeest take part in a long-distance migration, if you know their big famous migration. Times coincide with the annual patterns of rainfall and grass growth on the volcanic soil soft grass that can be found in these nutrient-rich foliage needed for the lactation and the growth of the calves. So these animals are found in Angola, Botswana, Kenya, Mozambique, South Africa, Swaziland, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And it's extinct in Malawi, or how we pronounce it, Malawi, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but... And have also been reintroduced into Namibia, which is pretty cool. So the southern limit of these blue wildebeest is the Orange River, which is bounded by Lake Victoria and Mount Kenya. And the blue wildebeest is widespread and been introduced in game parks and reserves all across the world, and even in Africa as well. And it's at least concerned with a population of about 1.5 million, and they're considered stable. So it's a pretty cool animal. So these guys exhibit sexual dimorphism, and they can get between 170 to 140 centimeters in head to body length and average about 115 to 114 centimeters in height, 145 centimeters in height. Well, the males weigh about 290 kilos. The females seldomly get past 260, and they have these long black tails, which is about 1 meter long. Looks wonderful. So, yeah, as I mentioned, they're pretty good animals. They're big and nice, and I think this is a really nice mod. This has to be one of the better mods I've seen. It just looks like something that they would make in the game, and I think it's a cool animal to have expressed, because a lot of people are thinking, why'd they pick black wildebeest? But blue wildebeest are obviously more famous because of things like Lion King and such. So we can have a look at these guys. That's the male. You see the female's just slightly smaller. Wonderful. I love the stripes that these guys have. They have like these stripes going down the body and this long tail. Very charismatic look to them, don't they? And then we have a look at the cute babies. Look at that. Look at this cutie. They don't get their adult colours until like 2 months old, I think. So this is what the babies look like. They have this very simple color. That's wonderful. Okay, so now it's time to move on to the next animal here. We have got this one was done by, we don't know how to pronounce this, Haruka Inchinose, or however you pronounce that. Forgive me for my pronunciation. This is the Ocelot. So if you guys don't know your Ocelots, you're about to learn quite a lot. And that was a pun, and I'm proud of it. So, so the Ocelots is a medium-sized wildcat that comes from that reaches about 40 to 50 centimeters long at the shoulders and weighs about 8 to 15 kilograms. So there's two subspecies recognized. They're native to the southwestern United States, Mexico, Central and South America, and the Caribbean islands of Trinidad and Margarita. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It prefers areas of close to water sources and dense vegetation cover with high prey availability. So these guys are typically active during the nighttime or during the twilight, and tend to be solitary and territorial like other cats. It's a very effective at climbing, leaping, and swimming, so they're very generalist. And the main prey that they usually consume is small terrestrial mammals, things like opossums, lagomorphs like rabbits and pikas, and armadillos. Also just anything that's small enough to small birds as well. They just kind of eat what they can. Both sexes become sexually mature at about 2 years old and can breed throughout the year. Though the peak mating season varies depending on the geography, because they have such a wide range, it just depends on what's the best season, really. So some of them live both above and below the equator. After a gestation period of about 2 to 3 months, the female will give birth to a litter to 1 to 3 kittens, where they usually stay around their mother for up to 2 years, and where they establish their own home ranges. So these guys are considered of least concern, but are threatened by all sorts of things like habitat destruction, which occurs in obviously a lot in South America and affects thousands of other species. There is also hunting. These guys are often hunted for their pelts, and even traffic accidents. That can be a big issue for these guys. Our population have decreased in many parts of their range, and the association with ocelots and humans date back to the Aztec and Incan civilizations, and is occasionally kept as a pet, which I would not recommend because cats are at least semi-domesticated. These guys are not, so you got to deal with a lot of their smells and stuff. They're a wild animal, so you don't want to deal with that. I just think these are cool. Look at this wonderful animal. I think that's a really nice job too with this one. So look, we're really improving the mods. I think there's some great ones here. So now we're going to move on to the next animal. We've got something that's pretty wild. I think this is pretty cool. This one is done by good old Leaf. You guys should know Leaf. He's already been in this video. So a really cool mod here. Let's have a look at the offspring, since the fish had offspring. Have you guys had offspring? I don't see anything. Oh, they're about to have offspring. So we'll put that pin on that and watch them have their offspring. Just watch it speed up quickly. Have a look at the baby ocelots. Come on, have your babies. There we are. Look at this cutie. Look at this cute little ocelot. Look at the silly face. Oh, that's cute. I really like how you did the patterns. I think you did a job on this one. So now I'm looking for mum. Did a really nice pattern job on this guy. So now, barring that interruption, now we're going to get on to the next animals. Done by Leaf, one of the most prolific modders. We have got, even though they're all hanging out on land right now, we have got the common short-beaked dolphin, or just the common dolphin. A wonderful animal here. I think it's really cool that now getting dolphins and stuff in game. A little bit janky, but that's just what's expected. Wonderful. So These guys are a species of common dolphin and have a larger range than the very similar looking long-beaked common dolphin. They're often found with warm, temperate and tropical oceans around areas like the Indian Ocean, also found in small numbers around. They are more short-beaked common dolphins than any other dolphin species in the warm, temperate Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. They're also found in Caribbean and Mediterranean seas, and they're also abundant in the Gulf of Mexico, the Red Sea and the Black Sea. And they're not very often seen in the Arctic. It's probably a bit too cold for these guys. Let me find one that's swimming. I think you guys will probably like that more. Yeah, look at the baby soon. Look at this wonderful guy. Such a cool animal. I love dolphins. These guys are considered about a medium-sized dolphin, smaller than bottlenose dolphins. They can get to about 5 to 8 feet in length and weigh between 100 and 106 kilos. Males are generally longer than the and heavier than the females, with a sexual size difference of 1.06, so just slightly bigger than the females. Mature males also have a prominent post-anal hump, which is also got a very weird body pattern. They have this dark back and this belly, and they got this yellow spot there. It's like a weird hourglass pattern. Such a cool animal. So these guys live pretty much everywhere. You can find them in New Zealand, you can find them in Europe, Hawaii, a very spread species. So these guys are found in huge pods of hundreds of individuals to thousands of individuals, and associate with pilot whales as well, and can be riding bow waves of baleen whales and boats, so they're so very common. They're very social animals and engage in the most necessary activities like traveling around and eating and breathing together. They usually associate in groups that consist of thousands to hundreds of thousands of individuals, and sometimes when individuals are sick, others can use their fins to keep them afloat, so they can survive, which is pretty cool. These guys have a very varied diet of many different species of fish and squid that live less than 200 meters down, and they've been known to eat small fish such as herring, anchovies, sardines, squid and octopus as well. They have a diet, pretty much just whatever they can find, really. That's a fish or a squid, that pretty much considered your, someone's revving the engine again. Also, these guys reach sexual maturity when they get to about 85% of their adult size. They are, at this point, the distribution of resources of their bodies has been more focused on their sexual organs rather than their size. So this is when they're approximately 12 to 15 years old, that's when they start breeding. So they are viviparous, which means they carry their babies in their tummy like most mammals. And they can, even though they occasionally have triplets or even triplets and twins, they usually just carry one baby at a time, similar to humans. They gestate for about 10 to 11 months, and the newborn calf is about 70 to 100 centimeters long and weighs up to 10 kilograms. So they wean to about 5 or 6 months. Weaning occurs about 5 to 6 months and can occur later in other areas up to 19 months. And typical interbirth is about 1 year to 3 years, depending on the population. And after a baby is born, it immediately becomes part of the family and takes part of daily life and stays close to its mother, does all these interesting things. Yes, Lee. Where's the other one? Let's have a look at the baby. So we're talking about babies. Look at this cutie. So they kind of stay with their mother, and until the calf is 6 months old, they only eat from their mother's milk. But unfortunately, unlike humans, these guys have no lips, so they can't suckle on the teats. And if they had the ability, they would drown. And the female mammary gland has a muscle that can contract and squirts the milk into pretty much the baby's mouth. So these guys are also considered least concern since they're very, very common. But they are very susceptible to things like bycatch, which also is an issue for a lot of other marine mammals. That means that they pretty much get caught when they're not meant to be caught. They get caught when they're trying to catch other fish and other things. And for about every pound of fish that you get in a net, about 5 pounds of bycatch you get. So that's not a very efficient and destroys a lot of marine life. And also there's lots of mass stranding events. These guys will kind of beach together since they're so incredibly social. But these guys are generally considered least concerned. They're doing well. And a cool animal. And I think they're wonderful. And I think they're cute. So that was done by Leaf. Done a good job. Considering this is just based off the otter, I believe, it's done pretty well. I think he did a good job. Okay, so we got our last animal now. We got another day, another dolphin. We have got the Bottlenose dolphin by Nicholas Lion Rider. So if you guys don't know him, he's pretty much like the top modder at the moment. He does a lot of mods, and he got some cute babies going on as well. Let me try and click one. Also, Leaf helped out with this one. Let me click on one. Oh. It's kind of hard to click on these guys with the water. Camera. So the camera, there we are. So these are the bottlenose dolphins. Also made by Nicholas Ryan Ryder, Leaf, and the original model was done for Zoo Tycoon 2 by Aurora Designs. And I think it does translate quite well into Planet Zoo. So these guys are considered three species. The common Pacific dolphin, the Pacific bottlenose dolphin, and the Indo-Pacific, the Pyrenean dolphin. And these guys are just the common one. So these guys are obviously the common one. So these guys pretty much get to about 300 kilograms and reach lengths of about 4 meters or so. They have this grayish color, and they have this really interesting nose. The reason they get the name the bottlenose because their nose looks kind of like a bottle. It's rounded and short. I think it's pretty cute. And they can live for a long time though. They have this like counter shading as well, and they can live for a long time. They can get to about 40 years old. And females typically live 5 to 10 years longer than the males, of course, exceeding up to 60 years. So these guys, like other dolphins, they have echolocations. They're able to use sound. They can take a sound, project it into the water, because sound travels much better in the water than it does in the air. It can project it out and use it to sense its environment. And when it comes out, the sound coming back that reflects off the object will come back, and they can use their melon and their jaws to hear it and be able to navigate the ocean, which is pretty cool. It's almost like a super sense. And these guys are extremely social, like most other dolphins. They can produce a lot of clicks and sounds, and they use to communicate also a lot of body gestures and such. It's such a fascinating area of study, considering how intelligent dolphins are, and they can live in big pods as well. These guys also are so intelligent. There have been lots of studies into cetacean intelligence. They can be trained, they can discriminate against each other, they can combination of symbols for various body parts, they can comprehend posing gestures and gaze as made by both dolphins and humans. They can remember numbers and count, and they can recognize themselves in the mirror, which is like one of the biggest tests of self-awareness. And also tool use. There have been many documented different ways that they use tools. Also, they'll put a marine sponge on their mouth and hold it in their mouth while they forage in the water, so that protects them from anything. And they also have this sort of culture, and they'll teach that to their babies, and that's just so cool. And these guys, when they gestate, they mate and gestate. Their gestation period is about 9 months, not 9 months, 12 months, and they give birth about any time of the year, but it occurs usually in warmer months. The young are born in shallow water, and usually about a single calf is born. When they are born, they are no more than about 1.4 meters long and weigh no more than 30 kilos, which depends on the species as well. The calf will suckle for from 18 months to up to 8 years, so that's a pretty long time, and will closely associate with its mother for several years after weaning, so they clearly do get on quite long. And females do have to expend additional energy taking care of babies, and they don't physically hold the infants, but they line up their positions with infants swimming beside them. So this creates water flow that helps to minimize separation between the mother and infant, but also increases the mother's surface area but creates drag. So that means they use a little bit more energy swimming so they can keep their baby close, which is kind of cute. Still a wonderful animal. Let's find the babies. Let's find a baby. There we are. Look at this cutie. Wonderful. So these guys will just feed on really whatever they can, mainly fish, but there's shrimps, squid, mollusks, cuttlefish, pretty much anything really. And these guys are preyed upon by orcas, tiger sharks, bull sharks, all sorts of things. And humans have been obviously very infatuated with dolphins. They are been used a lot in military training. They've been put in a lot of marine parks, which is probably not good for them. Well, not probably most definitely. And they often have been involved in stories. There's lots of media about them. Like if you hear about the story of, I think it was Echo, the dolphin, or Winter. I think it was Winter actually, with a prosthetic prosthetic tail they put on the dolphin. They're just something that humans have naturally been very infatuated with. But these guys, their main threats, they're considered least concern, but their main threats is usually like drowning in fish nets. Usually millions of dolphins have been found drowning in fish nets, which they use to catch things like tuna. And also chemicals that compromise their immune systems, and high level of mercury and things like that in these dolphins can make huge impacts on their population and impacts their health, which is very not good. But there have been populations, like there's a population in New Zealand by Doubtful Sound that has been in decline due to calf loss consistent with freshwater discharges of the fjord, and that's been a thing with climate change. So local populations are likely to be affected by climate change and things like that. But yeah, I think that covers about what we got for Bottlenose. Who knows the Bottlenose? Wonderful animals. So Nicholas, White Lion Rider, you kind of, and also Leaf and all them. Congratulations to all these guys making these wonderful mods. You all know that I love them. So yeah, I think this does it for the video today. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like and subscribe. Always remember to hit that little bell icon to get notified when we're uploading thing. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like and subscribe, and bye bye.